First of all, I just want to say thank you, God. I know it's not easy. I'm being very much disturbed every second they can. Make it hard for me to function, but I'm so thankful. I love how this child like trash. I don't know if they tell these retards that they are at war and what they do is part of this war they're in because we're target individuals and test subjects. And so they use this weapon system onto us where we are helpless. There's nothing we can do to defend ourselves as target individuals. We're test subjects. And they're using this governmental weapon system onto us, and this is happening to men, women, and children. But some of the people they utilize to contract to implement this are child like trash, right? For me, I hear this child like trash like this saying they're the war, right? They're at war, they're these warriors, and this is a war they're fighting. Like the way they just try to create this reality that's so delusional. But they're children and clowns, really clowns. Yesterday it was funny because in the neighbors, like a lot of target individuals, the neighbors partake, right? You're gonna hear target individuals say, "My neighbors are doing this and that," and you hear target individuals, that women saying that some of them deciding to leave their apartment, their houses that they own, that they pay for, that they comfortably living there, thinking that their neighbors are responsible for what's happening to them, right? And so I blast the reality in their faces. I don't even let them escape. So they can understand that when we see each other, I'm not threatening you, but you understand that you deserve death. You're not at war, but what you're involved in caused death of even children. As soon as I get back in, some child comes like, "We're not scared," and they go back in. I was like, "These guys, you see, that's the warriors." And it's funny, like I think they were serious. I think in their minds, like I can come out when he closes the door, and then I'm gonna show I'm not scared. I'm like, exactly. Like this is the type of mentality they utilize. They use childlike retards. Childlike retards, pure retards. At one point, it got to the point where when I used the restroom, they rewire the brain so disturbingly. Everything that is connected to sex is rewired in this pedophilia centric way. When I use the restroom, men have this thing called in urethra called sphincters that kind of help push out the urine, right? It's also the same thing that can push out semen. But when you're peeing, it's the urine that's getting pushed out. So if you want to pee faster, you can contract that muscle to push the urine out, right? And it also is the same when it's used in like to push out semen. The sphincter push that out, or that muscle, the same muscle that can push urine, is the same muscle that push semen. I'm fully peeing, but because earlier on they were doing this disgusting thing toward these black little girls, which you saw the video, and I'm using the restroom, I'm peeing, and so I forget that they rewired the brain this way, and I'm pushing the pee. I want to push out the pee faster using the sphincter. Sorry for the graphics. Immediately, because that muscle is used, is referring out. They manipulate my brain to like rewire my brain. So, oh, you see, this is like, this is some sexual stimulation. When it's just something that men do, or even women, I believe, when they want to push the urine faster. When you have like those like strong pressure of urine coming out, that's because you're using that muscle. This trash comes out and slam the door. You gotta pay, and it is because they have rewired in these pedophilia ways. And some trash comes out, it's like, oh, this is not war. Child like trash like this. These clowns. And they tell me, no, you see, we're privileged because you're gonna be tortured, and this, like, really? Yeah, you're right. The government, the Department of Defense could not make a call and have people torture me. They take what validates them is whatever horrible things I'm gonna go through, because it's proof that we proved it. They trash us. These people are pedophiles. They use these people who have this ability to just counter reality and live within a reality where they completely try to gaslight you, and they want you to accept this. So when you see them in person, they try to act this way, and you just look at them for the clowns that they are. It's like, oh, you're a con. You're a con. Yeah, okay, I'm a con. You protect kids, right? Clowns. But I don't have no shame to humiliate them in their faces. Like, let me see how you act when I see how the way you protect children. The top tier protections that's ongoing in these agencies. Let me just tell me how much of a con I'm listening to what is a whole bill because you guys are so protective of children. They're full of clown ass trash. They will get theirs, but they deserve death. the evil they're part of is very facilitated because this weapon system can do harmful things to you. You know, earlier on, they do this rewiring where even my toes can be used in certain way. I do something with my toes, I feel stimulation, and they create some. My brain is completely rewiring these disturbing ways, and this bullshit feminist optic look sounding trash come, oh, you're just insane, and you know she sounds like a radical, like this is not new age feminism that's so fraudulent now. It's for sale. You know, if you need a facade that looks like a feminist, or that's like radical, that's the kind of facade you can purchase. Clowns. And then this guy's like, now you molest, and try to talk about, like, trust, these perps are involved in a program that literally torture women and children sexually, molesting them using this weapon system. They would try to exaggerate what I did as a child, as a fucking middle schooler, as a kid in 8th grade, while they're out here torturing children. And by the way, yesterday, what kills them the most is this woman testimony. You're gonna hear that. Her name is Megan. Actually, let me just give you a quick sample. Who's Megan? And that's yesterday's testimonials. Just to give you an idea of the war they're part of, as they try to pretend like they're out here avenging, protecting children. Listen to this.
A lot of, good morning, I hope you're doing good. I've been staying with a friend here and there, mostly at my friend's house. And that's been a blessing, and it's also had its challenges. Sort of a little difficult to kind of explain everything, but basically it feels like in my life, people aren't allowed to just be a part of my life. They have to be causing some sort of difficulty or something like that. And then that's actually what made me realize that the sexual abuse and things like that happened to me when I was a child were required. Is because of my experiences as an adult. But anyways, moving on. Yes, such a train going through. Starting to cool off a little bit here. Had a tough time sleeping. Just took on a lot of EMFs or ECF, I don't know, a lot of things that felt like radiation on my head and different parts of my brain that are really uncomfortable and painful, and it's literally like vibrations and hearing vibrations on my nerves in my ear and feeling it radiating on parts of my brain.
My point is, this trash are torturing women and children. Some of these women you hear experience child abuse. They've been molested, they've been raped as kids, and they do these things, right? For me, by the way, they try to exaggerate what I did when I was a child, and let me just bring that up because just to put the reality back in there. Around their age, I don't know if you can see the children that they are in 8th grade, like them. I did something stupid to myself. Now, you want to hear what they do to children? These protectors of children. You heard what they do to women. Matter of fact, let me just give you another sample and listen to how much of a con I am. You're going to hear what I made this woman say. As this woman is a proof that they protect women and children. That's her, another testimonial.
Hey, I just woke up after a pretty rough night. The same thing happened last night as the night before, which was whenever I was trying to go to sleep, the private parts of my body began being burned again, and what is happening to me? An individual. A lot of strange things. I've been doing some research, I guess what it's called, organized stalking. I'm called a targeted individual. Involved, but it seems that I don't know if the government has the right to watch and the proper paperwork. Just walk right in and take a lot of capacities of the things that I faced. You just feeling some pretty general fear about my own safety. Because the government's burning the private parts of my body.
You heard her call herself a target individual. I con her to say that. You heard her hearing what's happening to her vagina. I con her to say that. You heard her say that she's scared because she's scared the government is going to burn her vagina. I con her to say that. Now, I'm saying that because these perps are this much of a clown, and they use these like ways to try to gaslight me or discredit me. It's like, you're a con. It's like, yeah, you see, I'm so much of a con. I'm able to con her into say all these things because it proves it that you protect children. Listen, let me show you how much protection they have toward children this low life, right? Listen to me being a con again in 2011.
That's Catherine Nestor.
Catherine Nestor, and I'm from Pennsylvania. This commission has spoken of a long history of abuse of the human research subject. Although no one mentioned MKUltra today, President Clinton recently apologized for this. My young child and I have been used as non-consensual test subjects. We have been subjected to COINTELPRO-like stalking, remote neural monitoring, and electromagnetic torture, resulting in psychological and physical damage. And I won't go into the details of that because I have 4 pages.
You see the level of conning I'm doing? I must be like the best con on earth. Listen to some more conning. This is in 2018 testimonial of Mariana, and this is what I con her to say.
I am currently a speech-language pathologist working in private practice with young children. I have a 7-year-old client who has autism, and she was the most significantly affected of all of my clients. I eventually had to tell this client to go to another clinic, and they used her to threaten the most torture in me as well as their most extreme forms of torture. For several months, she would cry and scream horribly during our therapy sessions despite having a feel for air a few times in the same way that I do when I am being more severely suffocated. The suffocation had been in a mild state for a while up until this point. Many of their torture methods are cyclical in severity. Right after I saw this child being suffocated, then I began to experience very extreme suffocation all day, every day, for about 2 months straight, and that's also when they made it worse when I eat. Then I also work with a 4-year-old little girl with Down syndrome, as well as her 5-year-old sister who also has Down syndrome. I observed both of these girls suddenly grabbing their genitals in pain and verbalizing, "Ow."
They obviously protect children. That's proof. And obviously, these people must be in some kind of war. I mean, look at them. There's no way these people are not in some kind of war. These people are clowns, and I have no problem putting reality in their faces. They will get theirs. They deserve death for what they're part of. They will get what they're deserving for what they're involved in, one way or another. Right now, they tell me how they're going to frame me, and I'm going to serve because they're going to frame me. They're going to have a child say that I did something to them. This trash is perfect for them. Watch the future of these children, these warriors, I should call them. This brave warrior. And once I'm going back to my apartment, they come out, it's like, I'm not scared, and go back in. Fucking trash. I can't wait to see this life. Because I put the reality in their faces. They will not escape from reality. What they're part of will come to them. They're nasty trash involved in some disgusting things. And the reason why they will enjoy this is because what this technology can do to a human being is ridiculous. It's crazy. It's so advanced. You can be destroyed physically, psychologically, remotely using this weapon system by some low-life clowns that can kill themselves in 2 seconds. Unstable human beings. But they're watching you slowly break down. Where their life is just who knows what the fuck's going on there. And they love this. They feel the intoxicating feeling of feeling empowered when they're just nothings. That's why they start making themselves believe that this is a war. We get cannibals, watch you suffer. It's like, you're going to watch me suffer because you work for a program that's ran by governmental entities that's destroying even children. That's why. It's not because you're such a powerful being. It's like, hey, you're gonna see us scream. It's like, I'd rather scream and die in hell than work for a program that does these things to women and children. Sorry, that I condemn to do that, to say that. This slow life, and they're talking as if there's just fierce, like, oh, now you'll scream. It's like, yes, I'll scream because I've been in pain. Like this 7-year-old kid is screaming. Do you see who's talking to you? Some weak low life. It's like, yes, I'll react with pain. Just like this child is reacting that way. But trust me, I'm not hearing some. I know that the person talking to me is not this brave person. The only reason why you watch me scream is because I'm in a program that's out here making children scream. Then try to play the feminists, where they are here burning vaginas of women who were, when they were kids, were abused, raped, molested, all these things. They pretend to be protectors of children. And play these feminists, yeah, just came. Trash like them, they deserve death. I will never let them escape into their fantasized reality. They're gonna enjoy what they're part of, but they're gonna enjoy being fully immersed with reality. No escapism. Even when they make these little personality voices they put together to sound fierce. Because they see me scream because I'm gonna be tortured. Me who's put in this program by by an organization that came and said the name of one person special there. Or that was doing it, they donate money to. Or me, who's just a test subject, just like Catherine and her young children. A test subject for this governmental program that's using this weapon system. That's why I scream. Not because of retard like using, they're just being we at war. This trash. She comes out, one of this could come out after this like, oh, we're not at war, huh? I'm like, is that the point where I'm supposed to be? Oh, actually, you are at war. They're like children. It's like, now you're a con man. It's like, yeah, you heard how much of a con man. I met this woman all the way in Austin, wherever state she is, say all these things. Clown ass. Now, what they try to present themselves as is another thing. This program is led by these governmental entities. I love the fact, by the way, talk about feminism. This woman who spoke up about what's happening to her. What I love about her is she said something that is well said, and that brings reality. She calls out the Department of Defense for being responsible in this thing.
Worked for the Defense Department. She worked on the global mapping of that system. And when I told her what I was going through, all she could say was, "You're on your own." Well, I figured that out. If you would please, I urge you to pass this. I realize you can't enforce it, but if you would pass it, it might give other communities the courage to do the same thing and show our Defense Department we are not the enemy. We are not to be attacked. We are not terrorists. Most of us are defenseless women.
See how much of a comment? I'm such a comment. I made this woman say these things. And by the way, here the Department of Defense, how obviously they've been protecting children. The way that it's clear that they're protectors of children. They're definitely out here protecting children. That's how much of a comment I am.
Working in the Department of Defense, clearly it appears to be thousands of individuals in the Department of Defense are finding ways around this, specifically by using the Department of Defense IP addresses and also apparently peer-to-peer sharing within the department's network. So this study that was done on this issue, and it is pretty horrifying, Manila, to consider this. It shows that the Department of Defense ranked 19th out of almost 3,000 networks in terms of peer-to-peer sharing of child pornography. That is absolute.
I'm such a con man. I mean, I'm coming out with this bullshit, fake studies. I mean, listen to this other thing I just on CNN that I made up. This is how much of a con I am. I mean, I spent so much time just making this thing up.
Defense Department network consistently ranks in the top tier of internet service providers for trafficking child pornography. It ranked 19th of nearly 3,000 networks surveyed in 2018.
I make this up. I made up this article. It's on CNN. It's called Bipartisan. It's called, let me see. Bipartisan bill aims to stop child pornography trafficking on Defense Department network. Made that up. I made that up on CNN. It was published at 4:33 p.m. Tuesday, July 2nd, 2019. That's how much I've made. That's how much of a con I am. My point is, I want to get to that point because the reason why they call me a con is because everything they're doing to me have been done to others. Today, what's happening in the last video I've made is about these black little girls, and they were giving me this sensation stimulation. They're like, "No, we mapped your brain that you felt like that when you're a kid," and they're like, "No, but remember what you did as a kid." And so we did with protecting kids because you, and they made me have this sensation stimulation, this disturbing things. They falsify and rewire, and it's me when I'm a kid. So that's what they want me to think, that's how I felt when I was a kid, or try to mimic some feelings and reaction that they reconcocted in different fashion of me as a child. But in whatever disturbing retardation it is, I'm an adult, so a very, like, not even a young adult at this point. I'm an adult getting closer to 40 years old. And you're telling me that you're just making my brain be the age of a 13, 14-year-old or even younger? As me being pushing 40 now, or reaching to the 40 mark. No, the people who do these things, right? Who you hear the clear issues with, this child pornography, which most likely means they protect children a lot. These people who can do this to the brain,
that can pipe voices into an individual's head. And once you can do that, you can control them using neuro-linguistic programming techniques. You're rewiring their thought processes and brains. And so this is...
I called this man to say this. I made this man say this. I called him to say, hey, they pipe voices in people's brain and they rewind the brain.
To what's called offensive information warfare. And manipulate people to do things that are irrational, but also walk them to their death. And so you can call it a eugenics program even. And they need to sample all cultures, language throughout the world to define the probability matrices of which tricks, techniques, deception works. So,
see, I'm such a con man. I even told them, hey, the people around you, the participant, that they're gonna utilize a lot of trickery and deceptive tactics. I'm such a con. They obviously protect children. No, I mean, even this man, when it comes to this manipulation, no.
Designed to interact with the human nervous system in order to remotely pick up on someone's neural network or EEG, and not only receive that and monitor it, but manipulate it and place it back into the victim to control their emotions or control their actions or bodily functions for that matter. The other more recent term we have for that is EEG heterodyning or EEG cloning. The difference between EEG heterodyning and EEG cloning would be, let's say, me remotely receiving your EEG and then duplicating it and putting that in another person to give them your same thoughts or feelings or physical reactions. EEG heterodyning would be receiving your EEG, manipulating it to put it back inside your head to give us a desired physical reaction or emotional reaction.
I'm conning again, once again, as such a con that I made this man say that this technology can make you experience a desired reaction that these people desire for you to experience, or emotions. I conned them. I'm such a con I got to him. I didn't even know. Matter of fact, I'm such a con that before finding out that these things were happening, I was writing letters to these news articles and letting know, saying that this is happening to me. My brain is being changed and manipulated. I didn't know I was a target individual. I knew what's happening to me, but I didn't know there was something called target individual. Describing what this man says, but I was such a con. I knew I was going to find out about it. So I said that in advance. Now, I'm such a con too, that this thing came up.
Innocent citizens being controlled by government-sanctioned experiments. Is Cheryl Welch telling the truth, or are her claims absurd? Just another conspiracy theory that's impossible to prove. Maybe. But not if you listen to Nick Begich.
I think there's some good evidence that Cheryl Welch and many of the other people I've spoken with have been victimized by this electromagnetic mind control experiments. The weapons of this century aren't bombs and bullets and ordnance, but electromagnetic energy targeting the human being, which is the greatest revolution in military affairs since gunpowder.
Begich is an expert in government mind control. He is convinced the Pentagon has mastered a technology once thought to be science fiction. The ability to broadcast information directly into the human brain.
Our government began spending a lot of time looking at how to modify behaviors of human beings. Going back to the Korean War, in fact, in a publication, Low Intensity Conflict in Modern Technology, they have a chapter on electromagnetic weapon systems and being able to not just to debilitate someone, but actually even to stimulate certain activities within the brain.
Wow.
HAARP is the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Project, which started as a joint effort of the Air Force and Navy. This is a very large array or field of antennas based in Alaska, radio frequency antennas.
HAARP antennas transmit powerful radio signals into the upper atmosphere to study the effects on wireless communications. But Begich says HAARP can also be used for more sinister ends.
HAARP has announced several other programs and campaigns, and there's two areas that I got very concerned about. One was weather modification applications. The other was the effect on human beings. If you can modulate a signal that the brain locks onto, recognizes, and begins to mirror or follow the frequency following response, the brain rhythms change, then it creates a chemical cascade within the brain and the emotions change. Now the resolution gets finer and finer and finer. And it used to just be about triggering emotions. You change people's brain chemistry pretty readily, change their emotional state pretty easily. But when you get down to the idea of thoughts and being able to manipulate those, that requires a different kind of sophistication.
Can we hear sounds?
Man, my Connery is incredible. It's weird how this man is describing certain things I've been describing, but giving them definitely more scientific explanation behind it. These clowns are low life trash and they will get theirs. This is part 1. Listen to part 2.